Code in bacteria is shared with all other organisms. Bacteria IGCSE and O-Level Smart Biology M. Rashid Chatter 030046104457. 21. Biotechnology and Genetic Modification. Bacteria are useful in biotechnology and genetic modification because of their ability to make complex molecules and their rapid reproduction. Bacteria are useful in biotechnology and genetic modification because of lack of ethical concerns over their manipulation and growth. The genetic code in bacteria is shared with all other organisms. Bacteria contain DNA in the form of plasmids, which can be cut open to insert genes. Biotechnology is the application of living organisms, systems, or processes in industry, often using microorganisms in processes called fermentations. The required product of biotechnology may be the organism itself, e.g. mycoprotein, or one of its products, e.g. ethanol. Yeasts can be used to make biofuel and for bread making. Pectinase can be used to extract fruit juices. Lipase and protease enzymes are used in biological washing powders to remove fat and protein stains. Lactase is used to produce lactose-free milk. Fermenters are used in the production of antibiotics like penicillin on an industrial scale. Genetic modification is changing the genetic material of an organism by removing, changing, or inserting individual genes. Examples of genetic modification include the insertion of human genes into bacteria to produce human proteins, e.g. insulin, the insertion of genes into crop plants to confer resistance to herbicides or insect pests, the insertion of genes into crop plants to improve nutritional qualities. In the process of genetic modification, human gene DNA is isolated using restriction enzymes, forming sticky ends. Bacterial plasmid DNA is cut with the same restriction enzymes, forming matching sticky ends. Human gene DNA is inserted into the bacterial plasmid DNA using DNA ligase to form a recombinant plasmid. The plasmid is inserted into bacteria. The bacteria containing the recombinant plasmid are replicated. They make a human protein as they express the gene. Plasmids and viruses are vectors used to deliver the genes. Crop plants can be genetically modified to resist insect pests and herbicides. There are advantages of genetically modifying crops, such as giving them resistance to pests and herbicides and increasing their nutritional qualities. There is concern that the genes introduced into crop plants might spread to wild plants. Microorganisms include fungi, bacteria, and viruses. Microorganisms are involved in decomposition and recycling of materials. Some microorganisms cause disease, and some are used in biotechnology. The cells of fungi lack chlorophyll and have cell walls made of chitin rather than cellulose. They feed saprotrophically and store carbohydrate as glycogen. Fungi reduce by forming spores. Multicellular fungi have a mycelium of filaments called hyphae. Yeasts are unicellular fungi. Bacteria are small unicellular organisms with a cell structure that is much simpler than that of a plant or animal cell. Bacteria have no nucleus and few organelles. Viruses are smaller than bacteria and are not composed of cells. They consist of genetic material surrounded by a protein coat. All viruses are parasitic, reproducing inside host cells and causing disease. IGCSE and O-Level Smart Biology M. Rashid Chatter 030046104457. Some fungi and bacteria are decomposers, breaking down waste products of organisms and their dead remains. Yeast respires anaerobically to produce alcohol and carbon dioxide. This is used in making bread and alcoholic drinks. Lactic acid bacteria are used in the manufacture of cheese and yogurt from milk. Industrial fermenters are vessels used for growing microorganisms on a large scale. Conditions such as temperature, pH, and concentrations of oxygen, nutrients, and waste products are monitored and controlled in a fermenter. Fermenters are used to grow the mold penicillium to produce the antibiotic penicillin. Microorganisms can be grown in fermenters to produce foods called single-cell proteins. Keywords: virus, fungi, sporangium, binary fission, germs, antibiotics, parasites, decomposer, bacteria, hyphae, spores, multiple fission, pathogens, microbes, saprophytes, species. Glossary. Biotechnology, the harnessing of biological processes to make useful substances, e.g. microbes, can be used to make food, fuel, medicines, and hormones. Genetic engineering, a technique for altering an organism's genetic makeup by inserting genes from another organism into its chromosomes. Short MCQs with answers. 1. Untreated sewage is accidentally released into a river for several weeks. How will this affect the number of bacteria, the oxygen concentration of the water, and the number of fish? 2. Fish stocks can be conserved in various ways. Which method of conservation ensures that mainly large fish are caught? Having a minimum mesh size for nets. 3. The bloodworm is an organism that is found in heavily polluted water. The diagram shows where raw sewage flows into a river. Where would there be fewest bloodworms? 4. The diagram shows the results of a survey on the types of animals found along a stretch of river near to a factory. Which animal lives in the least polluted water? Stonefly nymph. IGCSE and O-Level Smart Biology M. Rashid Chatha 030046104457. 5. What term is used for the transference of a gene from one organism to another? Genetic engineering. 6. A gene for insulin is taken from a human cell and placed in a bacterium. The bacterium can then make human insulin. What is this process called? Genetic engineering. 7. Why is yeast used in bread making? To provide carbon dioxide. 8. When human DNA is inserted into the plasmid DNA of bacteria, which enzyme is used to cut the DNA? Restriction enzyme. 9. Which enzyme is used to produce clear apple juice? Pectinase. 10. Which structures, found in bacteria, make them useful in genetic engineering? Plasmids. 11. Why is yeast used in bread making? Anaerobic respiration produces carbon dioxide. 12. Which feature of bacteria makes them useful in genetic engineering? They have plasmids. 13. With which kingdom's bacteria share the same genetic code? Animal, plant, fungus, and protoctist. 14. What is the disadvantage of using bacteria to produce human insulin? They mutate frequently. 15. Why are bacteria useful in biotechnology and genetic engineering? Bacteria do not have mitochondria. 16. What does penicillium need to grow in a fermenter? Amino acids, carbohydrates, oxygen. 17. A patient with a sore throat went to the doctor. The doctor examined the patient and then prescribed an antibiotic as treatment. What was the cause to the sore throat? Bacteria. 18. What causes the change in pH? Breakdown of lactose sugar. 19. When are antibiotics likely to be most effective? Infection is caused by a bacterium or fungus. 20. Which process occurs in both cheese and yogurt production? Bacteria are added, the milk is acidified, and the proteins are coagulated. 21. During the production of yogurt and cheese, the pH of the mixture changes. What causes this change in pH? Anaerobic respiration of lactose. 22. During the production of alcohol, why must air be kept out of the fermenter? To prevent aerobic respiration. 23. During the production of yogurt and cheese, the pH of the mixture changes. Anaerobic respiration of lactose. 24. Which substances are produced using bacteria? Cheese and yogurt. 25. Some types of bacteria make carbohydrates from carbon dioxide and water using the energy sunlight. Which of the following describes these bacteria? Producers. 26. Which process occurs in both cheese and yogurt production? Bacteria are added, the milk is acidified, and the milk proteins are coagulated. 27. Where is penicillin produced? In a fungus. 28. How do bacteria change milk into yogurt? By producing lactic acid. IGCSE and O-Level Smart Biology M. Rashid Chatter 030046104457. 29. When yeast is used in bread making, which type of respiration occurs, which product is useful and which product is waste? Respiration, anaerobic, useful product, carbon dioxide and waste product, ethanol 30. When bacteria act on milk, which row describes the formation of yogurt? Substrate, lactose, product, lactic acid and pH, lower 31. A new organism is discovered. It contains DNA in a circular structure. To which group of organisms could it belong to and to which group could it not belong? Could belong to, bacteria, and could not belong to, viruses 32. Which type of organisms produces penicillin, and which type of infection can be treated using penicillin? Type of organism, fungus and type of infection treated, bacterial 33. Which row shows a disease and the organism that causes it? Disease, syphilis and organism that causes it, bacterium 34. The processes listed in 1 to 4 will affect the concentration of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. 1. Increased deforestation 2. Increased forestation 3. Decreased fossil fuel combustion 4. Increased fossil fuel combustion. Which process would increase the concentration of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere? 1 and for 35. What is a reason for conserving plant species? To obtain drugs for medicinal use 36. What is not reason for conservation programs? To introduce new species 37. Some examples of the waste products of human activity are discarded household rubbish, excess fertilizer, industrial chemicals and untreated sewage. Excess fertilizer and untreated sewage 38. What is a direct result of deforestation? Increased loss of soil 39. What is a major contributor to the problem of worldwide famine? Increasing population and life expectancy 40. Which stage in the treatment of sewage removes large floating objects, such as plastic bags? Screening 41. How does cutting down trees contribute to the greenhouse effect? There will be less carbon dioxide absorbed. 42. What would be unlikely to increase the risk of human famine? The use of pesticides on crops. 43. In some areas, farmers who grow genetically modified, GM, corn have to make sure there is a gap between GM and non-GM crops. What is the reason for leaving a gap between the crops? To prevent cross-pollination between GM and non-GM crops 44. How does eutrophication lead to the death of aquatic organisms? Decompose a bacteria lowering oxygen concentration in the water 45. What is an example of sustainable development? Selective felling of forest trees for timber and replanting cleared areas 46. What is least likely to result from deforestation? Increase in species 47. Pieces of plastic between 1 and 1 mm in size are called microplastics. Microplastics are put into some face creams and are produced during clothing manufacture. They can now be found in increasing quantities in oceans all over the world. As well as their small size, which other property of microplastics make them dangerous to living organisms. They are non-biodegradable. 48. In 1991 there were only 14 Davy fecunded in plants. What happens to a plant population? That becomes very small. Variation in the population is reduced. 49. The increased availability of nitrates in rivers and lakes can result in the death of fish. Which statement explains why fish die in rivers and lakes containing a high concentration of nitrates? There is an increase in aerobic respiration by decomposers. 50. Which list correctly describes the sequence of events in the eutrophication of a river or lake? 1. Increased growth of plants 2. Dead plants decompose 3. Increase in aerobic bacteria. IGCSE and O-Level Smart Biology M. Rashid Chatter 030046104457. 4. Decrease in dissolved oxygen 51. What can be managed sustainably? Taking wood from a woodland. 52. Large areas of tropical forests have been cleared to grow monocultures of palm oil plants. Which effect will this have on the ecosystem? The variety of species in the area will decrease. 53. Evidence shows that some aquatic organisms have been feminized. What is the most likely cause of this? Female hormones excreted by women taking contraceptive pills. 54. What is not a reason for using chemical fertilizers for food production? Reducing competition with weeds. 55. What is an undesirable effect of deforestation? Loss of soil. 56. What are the possible effects of deforestation? Loss of soil, flooding and increase in atmospheric carbon dioxide. 57. When a river is polluted by fertilizer, what processes may occur in sequence? 1. Increased growth of producers. 2. Increased aerobic respiration of decomposers. 3. Decreased oxygen concentration in water. 58. The number of Atlantic bluefin tuna fish found in the Atlantic Ocean have significantly decreased in the last 50 years. Which method would make the biggest improvement in the conservation of tuna fish stocks? Introducing fishing quotas. 59. What is an example of sustainable use of resources? Controlling the number of fish caught with quotas. 60. The hormones from the female contraceptive pill can pollute watercourses. What effect do they have? Decreases the sperm count of men. 61. What is an effect of an increase in the use of insecticides? Decreased numbers of pollinators. 62. In the nitrate concentration in a lake increases, fish may die due to the events listed. 1. Increased aerobic respiration by decomposers. 2. Increased decomposition of dead producers. 3. Increased growth of producers. 4. Reduction in dissolved oxygen. Which sequence of events would lead to the death of the fish? 3, 2, 1 for 63. What is meant by a sustainable resources? A resource that is produced as rapidly as it is removed from the environment. 64. The list shows activities that happen in a forest. 1. Cutting down only selected. 2. Educating people about forests. 3. Replanting trees. 4. Cutting down trees to grow crop plants. Which activities are likely to ensure the forest is used sustainably? 1, 2, and 3. 65. What are reasons why species become endangered? Habitat destruction, hunting, and introduced species. IGCSE and O-Level Smart Biology. M. Rashid Chatter 0300 461 0457. Further work by the same author.